Welcome back to Tipping Point. I'm your host, Kara McKinney. A newly proposed CDC guideline could lead to the rise of superbugs, meaning bacterial pathogens that are resistant to common forms of antibiotics. This usually occurs due to an overprescription of antibiotics and patients not finishing their course as advised by a doctor, allowing for the survival of those bacteria that may have evolved a way to withstand the antibiotic to reproduce. Basically, instead of telling people to stop sleeping around so much, the CDC would rather risk the possibility of creating new superbugs in order to provide mostly gay, bisexual, and trans women, which means men, with their version of a morning after pill. Now, of course, since these are not people who are at any risk of getting pregnant, since they are all men, this morning after pill would be an easily accessible dosage of the antibiotic doxycycline to reduce the rates of chlamydia, syphilis, or gonorrhea, since STDs like this are on the rise. Isn't it strange how bad the STD epidemic has become, and also that monkeypox scare that we've seen once the Pride Parades took over everything with the backing of Wall Street and every other major institution of power, and then became overtly about the most degrading forms of sex and with strangers. All sorts of kink they want to expose kids to. How about we just culturally, do away with all of that? Sounds like a simple answer to me. Sounds like a better trade-off than risking superbugs to keep bailing out perverse lifestyles. We should be praying for these people to repent and turn to God, not helping to make it easier to be a degenerate. At least accountability is hitting one such degenerate, the ex-Loudoun County, Virginia Public Schools Superintendent Scott Ziegler. He is the guy who nastily lied at a school board meeting back in 2021 that there had been no sexual assaults on campus due to their change in restroom policy to allow trans-identifying students to go into the restroom of the opposite sex. He knew, of course, per emails and other evidence that has since come out, that a boy wearing a skirt and claiming to be gender fluid had raped a 9th grade girl in the girls' bathroom just weeks prior. His rhetoric got the rape victim's father in handcuffs when he angrily reacted to the lies at a school board meeting before the girl's rapist was in handcuffs. That student just got transferred, where he reportedly sexually assaulted yet another female student. Anywho, those allegations of false statements will be the center of another trial beginning next year after he, Scott Ziegler, is sentenced for this most recent guilty verdict. This case instead had to do with another teacher who Ziegler used his official position to retaliate against when she complied with investigations into yet, you guessed it, another sexual assault cover-up on campus, this time having to do with a special ed student groping his female teachers and those teachers being forced to take it. Even being given cardboards to put over their genitals and being given dog groomer aprons to, what they were told, to slow down penetration. Needless to say, Ziegler doesn't have the best track record with sexual degeneracy and was fittingly wearing earrings and nail polish as a grown man to this trial, as reported by our friend Luke Rosiak over at the Daily Wire, who's been covering Ziegler in Loudoun County extensively for years now. Ziegler now faces up to 12 months in jail and a $2,500 fine at his sentencing in January. What a time to be alive, right? That this is just normal everyday headlines, I guess. Join us now to discuss all this and a whole lot more is radio host Andrea Kay of the Andrea Kay Show. Andrea, thanks for being back tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Great, so at least Ziegler is finally being held accountable for what we saw in Loudoun County, right?
Well, yeah, except he needs to get an extra, year slapped on his prison time for the earrings and the makeup he wore into the courtroom. Look, let's think about this for a second. All jokes aside, this was a man who covered up crimes against young girls, and we're talking about crimes of the worst kind, rape, right? And then in addition to retaliating against a parent who kind of didn't like the fact that his daughter was raped and that there was a cover-up involving it, now he's retaliated against a teacher who decided to cooperate with an investigation. Look, 12 months is all that he got. He needs to be locked up behind bars as long as any rapist of a young girl would, because in my opinion, if you're enabling a rapist of young girls, you're as bad as the rapist himself.
You're exactly right. And do you think that that situations like this, COVID, you name it, is really showing just how many petty tyrants we have in our lives at the local, state, and federal level? Because, we're used to at this point, though sometimes it takes us a moment to remember that those in power, especially in D.C., they will bold-faced lie to your face. Mm-hmm. They will, with a smile, and they can look so assured, self-assured, so cocky and confident that what they're saying is true, but they know full well they are lying to your face in pursuit of other ends.